On this edition of In Life, we'll take a look at a woman whose work as a storyteller brings real Civil War era people to life. And we'll talk to Salsa Ambassador Julio Barrenzuela about the culture that comes with the dance. That's next on In Life.
So you knew at that point.
This program is brought to you in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and through the financial support of viewers like you. Thank you. Funding for arts segments on In Life is provided by the Illinois Arts Council, a state agency. Hi, I'm Becky Cramblit. Welcome to this edition of In Life. Today we start off with a former teacher who's found a unique way to educate kids about different aspects of the Civil War. We caught up with Betty Kay at a grade school to learn about her program.
Well, it all started with teaching first grade for 34 years, mostly in the Springfield schools. And there came a time when we were encouraged to teach character education. And it was all about character education as seen through the eyes of little ducks and little turtles. And I decided that it would be really good if the kids saw real people showing good examples of good character. And I wrote a series of books called Americans of Character. Mm-hmm. And of course, Abraham Lincoln was one of those. And when I finished this series, I really thought my writing days were over, and I was busy teaching school, but ideas just kept coming. And so I wrote a book called Illinois from A to Z with the University of Illinois Press. And then I got started on a series of books about Abraham Lincoln. And now this year, for the 150th anniversary of the start of the Civil War, I have written the book, The Civil War from A to Z, 2 points of view. Mm-hmm. So you see each letter from the viewpoint of the Northern and the Southern armies.
And what age group are these books written for?
I began targeting primary up to 4th grade, and now I've gone from, for example, this book is really for 4th through 8th grade, okay, where they really would be studying Civil War.
Over. Everyone looked forward to going home. We took the train back up to Cairo, and then everybody scattered, heading back to their ma and pa, or their sweetheart, or their wife and children. But me? I had no place to go anymore.
Okay. And what you have done to dramatize the story is come into the schools and become interesting characters.
Yes. When I first retired and visited schools as the author of the year, I really felt it was pretty boring to just go in and read a book to the or read a chapter to the children, and decided that it would be more fun to come in character and give them something, make history come alive. So I have been Mrs. Rutledge from New Salem. Mm-hmm. I've been Elizabeth Todd, Mary Lincoln's older sister. And now I'm doing this 3 women in the Civil War.
Now, the women that you did this morning that I saw, a couple of them are not all that well known, and particularly the first one. How did you even find out about them?
I volunteer at the Presidential Museum. And through my writings and readings about Lincoln and the Civil War, the name Jenny Hodges is not all that unfamiliar. However, finding a lot of detailed information on her is a little challenging. But it was fun doing her, and when I speak to groups of children and I have question and answer time afterwards, they have the most questions about Jenny and how she got away with being a man her whole life, in essence.
Now, how do you find your information? How do you do your research?
I spend a lot of time reading every book I can get my hands on, and then it is true that sometimes the internet guides you to some new information. And actually, in the case of Jenny Hodges, I found an online book about her that is not published, and you pay $5 and you're allowed to download it once. And so I go wherever the information is. Mm-hmm. I have relied on some friends who are historians, and I am always thankful for their input.
Gathering. But if you know what happens when thousands and thousands of people gather together to eat and sleep and spend all that time together, why, they often spread germs. just like in a school.
Are you still
When one
looking then
person
for
sneezes-
new information, new stories about people that haven't been told yet?
Well, always.
Right.
But I am currently at a point where I don't have an inspiration for where I'm going next. So we're just going to see where life takes me. This Civil War program for schools and adults will keep me very busy through the spring. I'm booking into next fall. And so I'm not looking for more to do right now, but perhaps something will come. We'll just have to wait and see.
Where all do you travel with your program?
Pretty much I stay in the state of Illinois, from Galena to Sparta and from Champaign to Quincy. But I have been in Missouri and Iowa and Indiana as well.
Now, the characters that you dramatized today were women. Is that always your focus, or are you trying to give a message to girls that they can be anybody they want to be?
Well, that's part of it. I think that historically we concentrate on the role of men in history. And there are wonderful stories about what women have done. And because I'm a woman, it really is easier to portray women than it is men.
Right.
Although it is fun to dress up in this uniform and pretend that I am a soldier and that I am Jenny Hodgers dressing as Albert Cashier and getting away with it.
Exactly. Well, and I think there's also a message in showing young girls what these women did in the time frame that they lived in, which was very difficult to accomplish.
Yes, I think they're always surprised to hear that women were not allowed to be soldiers in the Civil War. Women, of course, could not vote. So Albert Cashier became a man who could be a soldier and actually voted in elections long before women were allowed to vote. They are very surprised at some of this.
Burying me as Mrs. Bickerdike. They buried me with my nickname because in the very beginning of the war, one boy who was confused with a high fever accidentally called me Mother. And for the rest of the war, I was Mother Bickerdike.
Now, do you have some more writing left in you? Are there more books that you'd like to write?
I'm at a little stalling point right now, I guess I'd say. I don't have a new direction, but I keep reading.
Right.
And something might percolate up with me. I kind of tried to tie into events like the Lincoln Bicentennial and now the 150th anniversary of the Civil War. And I just don't know. Maybe there's another anniversary coming up that I can tie into as well.
Do you have any aspirations to write fiction? Or is it always...
I do not think I'm smart enough to write fiction. You have to have
Interesting.
such an imagination to write fiction, and I don't think I'm there. I'm pretty much a nonfiction girl.
All right. Well, Betty, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
That I am available to do programs at schools and with a lot of adult groups as well. Because it's amazing how receptive adults are to hearing this information, and they often say afterwards that they wish they had learned it when they were in school long ago.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can get more information on Betty and her work by going to the website on your screen. When we met Salsa Ambassador Julio Barrenzuela to tape the segment, he walked in with a smile, we shook hands, turned the music on, and away we went. We were on the dance floor in minutes. After getting my feet tangled with the basics, I caught my breath while he talked about salsa and how he got started.
Salsa dancing was actually created in New York, and it was a way to define the new style of music that all of a sudden was being heard in the late 60s. It took mambo and the cha-cha-cha and the rumba with American music and the influence of it, and no one knew what to call it anymore because it wasn't mambo. So they said, well, how do we market it too? And someone came up with the concept of, let's market it as salsa. And salsa is actually a mixture, as when you have your chips and salsa. And it became a great definition for it. It's a mixture of different styles of music blending together. And a lot of people have the misunderstanding that salsa was created outside of, in Cuba or something.
Yeah.
And in fact, it wasn't. It was created in New York. The prominent guy named Tito Puentes, he was always, to the day he died, he's like, it's mambo, salsa, I don't know what that, he was against salsa.
Now, how did you become involved in it then?
I'm from Peru, and when I came to Springfield at 8 years old, I realized that I missed, my culture. And my grandma would have me listen to a lot of music, not necessarily salsa, more like Peruvian music and Gloria Estefan. And I just got into this whole, music, and Latin music became my thing. And I liked salsa in the end because it was much easier to bring everything under the umbrella of salsa, like merengue, mambo, and than to just start saying everything. So it's like, salsa. And in high school, that's when it started. My license plate said Salsa 29.
So you knew at that point.
Yeah.
Now, salsa has really become more than just dance to you, though, hasn't it?
Most definitely.
How did that happen?
Well, salsa, dancing salsa, when I was in the Navy, I found it that every time I would go off the ship and I would socialize with people, it didn't matter what language they spoke. On the dance floor, we were on the same plane, we were talking the same language. And I used it as a way to make friends with people from other countries, because we would always be traveling. When I came back from the Navy to Springfield, I realized that if I showed people how to salsa, maybe I could create the same context, like give people something in common, And I decided that I would take salsa to places where they normally don't salsa. And in Springfield, no salsa.
Springfield fits that bill just fine.
For the most part, yeah.
Although he says he's not technically an instructor, he knows his stuff. And in addition to making the segment informational, we thought we'd make it a little instructional as well and show you a bit of what I learned with him on the dance floor.
1, 2, 3, and 5, 6, 7. 1,
2, 3,
5,
6, 7.
and 1, 5. Okay, so everything revolves around that 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and we could dance that for a whole 5 minutes, but it gets a little boring. So we want to learn at least
Maybe for you.
we want to learn at least a right turn. Okay, and your turn, you can face the mirror. I'll show it to you.
All right.
Your turn, I'll do it once, then you follow. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, and I'll put your hand up, whichever hand. And then you'll step forward 5, you pivot for 6, and then bring this one around. 7, 1. Okay?
Okay.
I'll show you,
All
I'll
right.
help you with it.
All right.
1, 2, 3, you step forward. 5, 6.
What do I do with
we'll
my
it
feet when
again.
I go around?
No problem, one at a time, 1 foot at a time. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Step forward for 5. Pivot, don't move any footwork, just pivot for 6. Now bring your left around for 7.
Did I do that right?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so let's do the footwork again.
Yeah, I'm
1,
confused what I do when I actually turn.
1, 2, 3. Step 5, pivot 6, and put your weight on this leg right here. 6.
On the right leg.
And stay there. You're gonna bring your left leg around. 7. Bring it
Oh,
up. There we go.
okay.
And then you step back for 1.
Okay, that
And,
makes sense. Okay.
and I'm gonna help you here. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. No.
No, I didn't do that right.
I know. It's okay. Ready?
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3.
Better.
5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2. No. Once you're there, you can continue dancing.
That foot, right.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
1, 2, 3, and 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 1. I graduated with a marketing degree, and the reason I liked marketing was because I liked the idea that I can eventually market an intangible concept. That salsa has byproducts and benefits that can actually deal with issues in the community, such as dealing with child obesity and the health epidemic, and encouraging kids to stay active and moving. And also to deal with the reality that the kids today, there's this big academic achievement gap there. And I wanted to motivate the kids, and I found that salsa dancing, or at least the show, the presentation, actually got kids interested in learning a second language and traveling the world. And I thought if I can close the motivation achievement gap, which is what I decided to coin what I do, then in the result, and they will want to be in school. And finally, on a serious issue, I think diversity is prominent there, because I'm dealing with a cultural piece with the salsa, but since I'm not making it, I would say, I'm not making it obvious that I'm there to talk to you about my Latin culture, rather I'm here to teach you salsa.
Right. You sneak it in.
People are more open to the idea of learning salsa at first, getting engaged, then they ask questions about it. Once they're sold on the idea that they like the music, I talk to them about where the music comes from. And it's been very successful.
Now you've gone into schools, nursing homes, where else?
Yeah. Well, you name it. With my mission being, I'm going to take it to where they're not listening to salsa. I found myself in the juvenile detention center. I have found myself in nursing homes and assisted living, because I picked age groups. I mean, not age groups, but I picked demographics. I said, I'm going to work with older adults. I'm going to work with kids, and I'm going to work with people with disabilities. Those were my 3 groups, the underrepresented group mainly. And I had to find out that older adults don't hang out in the same place. There's nursing homes, there's retirement centers, there's assisted living, there's country clubs. And to me, I walked into a very nice looking place once and I said, this is the nicest looking nursing home ever. And the ladies were like, this is a retirement center,
There's a difference.
Or also someone would say, who do you want to work with, the young ones or the older ones? I was like, well, today I'm going to work with the older adults. They're like, they're all older. I was like, what are you talking? The 60-year-olds are the young ones. The 80, 90-year-olds are I was like, oh. So I started to learn a lot about the human development, at what age people do things, at what age they start, at what age they stop. And I've been so engaged in learning how to work with kids, older adults, people with disabilities of all ages. And just lately, I'm working with adults in the workplace. 1, 2, 3. And 1. 1, 2, 3. 5, 6, 7. 1. Yeah. And it looked better if we hold hands like this. Watch.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. 5, 6, 7. And 1, 2, 3. 5, 6, 7. And 1, 2, 3. 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. 5, 6, 7. And 1, 2, 3. 5, 6, 7. 1.
Who do you find is your most receptive group?
My most receptive group has to be on the 2 ends. The little kids, like kindergarten through 3rd grade, they're sold on jumping and counting to 10 or whatever it takes. The junior high and high school, it's a little hard to sell them on the idea that moving your hips can eventually, but I'm not there to get them to literally want a salsa, but some of them do break out of their shell. And I think that's my message, is to just help them step out of their comfort zone. That's my whole point. Step out of your comfort zone. So the little kids, and then the older adults, I sort of, the old ladies in the 90s, they want my dimples. They're always giving me. That's right. I think they're very loving,
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they love it.
And they miss dancing.
Sure.
And
Don't you think that's a generation that grew up dancing more so than today's youth?
Yeah, but I think that it is really a privilege to be hanging out with them, because I learned they're the ones who taught me the ASDA model. Because the ASDA model is, actually from an 87-year-old friend that I now have in Carbondale. He says, you gotta live the ASDA model. And I was like, what is that? Fill me in. He says, well, you have to have an active lifestyle. He goes, at my age, active means just walking around. But not just active physically, active mentally and active emotionally. You gotta, keep living actively. You say social lifestyle. The S is you gotta have friends. You gotta have a purpose out there. You have to have them in some sort of lifestyle where the meeting can't start without you. You're somebody, and go out there and make friends. The diet, the ASD, is, he says, it takes care of itself when you're out there being active and engaging and meeting people for lunch, meeting people for dinner. You start to kind of work on your diet. And finally, the ambition, the last A is, he says you gotta have, at my age, a reason to wake up every morning, And ambition, not in the bad terms, he says, in the good terms. You have a purpose in life, you're somebody. And he goes, a lot of people lose that. And you can't have that, especially if you want to get into this age group. If you want to get into this age group, and I have that in the back of my mind. I want to join that age group, because I see a lot of older men don't make it to the 80s and 90s.
Right.
You know, and I always look around, and when there's ever one guy in the nursing home, I'm like, you're a lucky guy, man, and give me some help. But those are my two receptive groups. But to me, the only thing I want to do for them is bring them joy. You know, I'm not there to educate them as much. The older, they can educate me.
Right.
I'm not there to talk a lot about diversity because they're at their age, they have become open-minded to just acceptance and love. What I am there to tell them is, if you can move it, you know. Even if they tell me, oh, honey, I can't dance, I've had 3 hip replacements. And I'm like, well, then let's move your hands, let's move your fingers, let's move something. And they end up doing it and they like it a lot. So, step.
As a horse person, footwork for me means making sure my horse goes in the right direction. So learning some basics from other dances helped put salsa into perspective.
Turn and cha-cha-cha, step and crossbody lead, step and cha-cha-cha. Like you just add the cha-cha-cha to your salsa. Yeah. You can do the rumba, the box step. It's.
I'm not a dancer, remember? Rumba.
So we can say quick, quick, slow together. Quick, quick, slow together. Quick, quick, slow, and quick, quick, slow. Quick, quick, slow, and quick, quick, slow. Quick, quick, slow, and quick, quick, slow. You see?
Yeah.
Or we can do a little tango, okay? Now that we have this, because we're creating chemistry with each other. You're facing me.
Yep.
A little
Except I'm looking at your feet.
Yeah. Tango's a little different because we're gonna be like this almost, side to side. You're gonna step back, because what foot do you start with all the time?
Right.
You step back T, step back A, N to the side G, together furrow.
Okay.
T, A, N, G, O. T, A, N, G, O. We're gonna start to the side, okay? Start with your right.
What do we do?
T, A, N, turn your body, G, O. T, A, N, G, O.
Oh, O is together.
Yeah. So here we go. We're going to start back and then the side again.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. And remember, boom. Okay.
Right.
Here we go.
Okay.
T, A, N, G, O. T, A, N, G, O. T. Look at the mirror. T, A, N, G, O. T, A, N, G. And we can work with that because you're now a salsa dancer.
Do I get an official plaque?
We should get you.
You're now a salsa dancer.
You're now a salsa dancer. And the thing is that
engages you physically, but mentally, I was working up here a whole lot, just to figure out where to move my feet and all that kind of stuff. So that's good.
It's neat. And
it's a mental exercise.
But the thing between you and me, to share the secret, is I am not a salsa instructor. And the thing is that's the biggest misconception that gets taken. Which if I wanted to be a salsa instructor, I'd be okay, because a lot of referrals come my way. And I have to let a lot of people know that, I don't have a studio. I don't really teach classes. But I suggest people that do in the community. And my goal is to be the ambassador of salsa. I'll send them all your way. And some people didn't believe me at first there in Springfield. They're like, why would you do that? Because I'm not here for the business of salsa. I'm here to promote dancing and staying active and physically. But the thing is that I use salsa because it's congruent to who I am. It's something I have passion for, so it's easy for me to sell it to myself first. And it could be karate if that's what I did.
Right.
But my goal is to promote the value of health and the value of education and the value of culture as one package, to have a lifestyle that's meaningful in the world.
We had a chance to meet up with Julio while we were visiting an area school. As the kids walked in, some of them weren't quite sure what they were getting into, but they warmed up in no time.
Well, by the end of our time together, you all will salsa. So I want to get you guys on board, but I have one rule that I have to share with all of you, and here's my rule. If you can move it, move it. I don't want anybody that can move it not to move it. Okay? So that's my rule. Is that okay with you guys? All right, here we go. Uno, dos, center, side, center, side. And side, center, side. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7.
Julio, tell me about what you do here in the schools today.
What I do here is I try to get the kids very excited about, staying active and moving and jumping around. And then I try to attach that all to the association of learning. And I try to get them to reconnect to the satisfaction of learning, which I think kids have, but sometimes I want to maintain for them,
Right.
and motivate them to close what I call the motivation achievement gap.
Right, and there's a lot of physical activity involved
Oh,
with
man.
what you do here. So it gets them out of their chairs, off the sofas.
Most definitely, and I think when they take it back home, they show their parents, and then it gives them an activity to have together. And when I'm out there in the community, also working with the parent, then it gives them something they have in common.
What's the check mark, the benchmark for you when you say, I've gone to a school, I've achieved?
If I can leave that school and for the whole week the kids are still talking about salsa and how much fun they had, what to me it represents is that they've been exposed to a whole different culture in a fun way that they didn't forget it, and that the retention is there, and then hopefully they're more appreciative towards learning other things, especially about other people. And it's fun.
It's fun. That's absolutely right.
And this is Derek. And Derek is a perfect example for me that there's no limit to who can do this and how much fun it can be for anybody.
Absolutely.
So
universal, isn't it?
It is, most
You
definitely.
guys are good. Good class.
Yeah, for the most part. I think part 2 of this will be taking it up and down the state to connect not just communities, but to connect symbolically, if nothing else, people up north with people down in the south, and have them not just be salsa dancers, but have something more in common. I try to make salsa dancing a lifestyle that's symbolic. Not necessarily that they salsa every day, but to have it's a way of saying, I want to stay active and moving, and I want to learn new things, and I want to be internationally savvy, which is what I tell them. Learn this salsa skill, which I told you, and you can go into any salsa club in the world and just connect. Right. It's like James Bond has his skills, and now you have yours.
The James Bond of salsa.
Oh, you're pretty cool.
More information on Julio and Salsa 29 is available on Facebook. That's all we have time for on this edition of inLife. For all of us, I'm Becky Cramblit. Thanks for watching. If you have questions or comments, email us at inlife@wsec.tv. This program is brought to you in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and through the financial support of viewers like you. Thank you. Funding for art segments on inLife is provided by the Illinois Arts Council, a state agency. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send $19.95 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.